Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. With your WWE Saturday night's main event, instant analysis of John Cena's final match. That's right, Getting Over is back once again, and we are here to break down everything that happened Saturday night as John Cena signed off as a WWE superstar for the final time. We have an absolute ton to get to on tonight's instant analysis. Before we get to it, allow the Silver King to remind you off the top that this show
is all about Defy.
So please, folks,
stop being marks for yourselves and go back to being a mark for me.
Go back to being marks for the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, Vintage Chris Vanini, and the Getting Over Wrestling podcast in totality. Head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show. You can vote in pre- and post-show polls, just like the ones we posted around WWE Saturday night's main event on YouTube. When you subscribe over there, you can listen to full-length audio episodes and watch full-length video interviews, like I said, across the board at Getting Overcast. When we do these instant analysis episodes, we do something a little bit special. It's usually late at night, so the Vintage and I decide to crack open a cold one. You're not going to get to hear the satisfying click of a can here. I have a bottle, but I am drinking a peanut butter jelly sandwich goes from Royal Palm Brewing here in South Florida. Vintage, welcome to the show. It's Saturday night. John Cena is officially retired. What are you drinking?
You know, I realized I haven't been able to do many of these pay-per-view-ish post shows because it was college football, and we always do these on Saturdays.
You've left me hanging all year. Yep.
I am finally back on a Saturday night, and I've got from just down the street from me, Three Nations Brewery, Sucker Punch, watermelon sour.
That sounds delicious. And you're bringing a real beer to the table this time, not that bullshit that you sometimes throw out here. So that's positive.
Well, I was prepared now because football is mostly over and I can breathe and realize what's going on in the rest of the world.
Yeah. All we really had was the Army-Navy game and the Heisman Trophy ceremony, both of which were great individually. But certainly Silver King was watching Saturday night's main event and his New York Knicks beating the Orlando Magic, advancing to the finals of the NBA Cup. My Florida Gators also won a basketball game. It was a good night for the Silver King. Let's just put it that way. The other thing that we can put is a stop to all the banter. Because, Chris, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. The WWE Saturday night's main event instant analysis. We are going to break down every single match and moment from this show, including, of course, John Cena's last match, which is exactly where we are going to start. There's usually a bunch of preludes. We talk about the scene, the attendance, whatever the case might be. Nah, screw it. We're getting right to the meat. We know what you want to hear. John Cena versus Gunther, the main event of Saturday night's main event. The jeers when Gunther's entrance hit were incredible. He also traded in his boxing robe for his body-length jacket, formal occasion and all. Cena's entrance was perfect, other than production missing the cut when he grabbed the camera from Stu and put Stu on it. We barely saw it. We saw it for like half of a second. Hopefully they fix that in post when they, show replays of the event. Fans were incredible, rapping John Cena's entire entrance. We'll talk about everyone who was ringside later, but Kevin Owens was basically the last person to show up. He had a huge hug with Cena. That was pretty damn emotional to see. The crowd was insanely hot at the bell, chanting F you Gunther. Cena caught a chop cold and hit 4 out of his 5 moves of doom just minutes into the match. He escaped a sleeper, countering into STFU. Gunther came back with a shotgun dropkick and a powerbomb. Refusing to cover, he asked the referee to have Cena give up multiple times after laying in a ton of stiff clotheslines, one after another. Fans chanted Super Cena. He obliged with 5 moves of doom, including the attitude adjustment, for a false finish. This is less than 10 minutes into the match, mind you. Gunther avoided a second AA locked in a sleeper, but Cena escaped, reversed it for a rope break. Gunther then threw Cena into the steel steps and dragged another set over to the announce table. You knew what was coming here. The referee used discretion. He didn't count. So Gunther tries to powerbomb Cena through the table. He, of course, countered that into an AA with a really nice camera angle from underneath. Cena surprised by going to the top rope, hitting a flying leg drop for a false finish. He got a "You Still Got It" chant on the back end of that. Then he paused and got the crowd going for one more 5-knuckle shuffle. But Gunther respawned with a huge boot, German suplex, and powerbomb for a false finish. And it was actually pretty cool, at least for me, that Cena was there showboating, and it cost him in the match. Cena then caught Gunther attempting a splash, hitting an avalanche AA from the second rope for another false finish. After they traded punches, Gunther countered an AA into a powerbomb, landed his huge splash for a false finish, and another Super Cena chant. Cena 4 different times powered out of the sleeper as fans chanted, "Don't give up." After the last, he hit another AA for a false finish, with Gunther immediately respawning to lock the sleeper back in. The "Don't give up" chants were now deafening. The referee did the 3-arm drop, with Cena holding his hand up, the 3 fingers, hustle, loyalty, respect on the third. And for that 3-arm drop on behalf of the Silver King and Vintage,
thank you!
Gunther drilled him in the back with a chop, started landing hammer elbows, and Cena locked back into the sleeper, lightly tapped Gunther's arm to give up and lose his last match in WWE. Michael Cole sold it as Gunther, the professional wrestler, destroying the sports entertainer who tapped out for the first time in 20 years. And by the way, just the 5th time in his entire career. Gunther is a career killer. Fans loudly chanted bullshit as Cena remained in the ring, and a ton of stuff happened after the match, which we will circle back to momentarily. Chris, there is not a single doubt in my mind that Cena wanted to lose this match. That doesn't mean it was the right decision, either in the moment on Saturday night or for WWE history. But there's really 2 sides to it. I have a lot to say about this, so for those of you listening, let me get through my entire point before you judge my opinion, okay?
Okay.
Cena, well, I guess you count as the people listening, so yeah, sure. I just
want to remind people I was still here.
I was speaking to everyone else, but yes, you too, Chris. Before you opine on my opinion, please hear me through. So Cena powering out of the sleeper, holding hustle, loyalty, and respect in the air, those 3 fingers, and then moving into an STFU and tapping out Gunther, that was the move. It would have been a phenomenal ending, sent the crowd into an absolute frenzy. WWE in 2025, they are in the moment and content making business. It would have gone insanely viral. This will basically have no significant reach. We discussed this at length on the Ultimate Preview. Gunther, he did not need to go over for his career. Cena has put enough folks over this past year where going out a winner as a pure babyface would have been an awesome move, especially because the entire build to the match was his never give up mantra, and they had WWE Superman give up when the alternative was allowing their fans to see their hero be a hero one last time, especially considering a significant portion of the year, let's say 40%, was spent with him as a heel. Beyond that, WWE probably should have been smart enough to know what the crowd response would be like making that decision. Ultimately, there's just no reason to not send the crowd home happy in a situation like this. If Cena was insistent on it, Triple H could have overruled him. Plain and simple. It unnecessarily soured his sign-off moment, given what happened afterward, which again, we'll talk about in a minute. But let me be completely clear, because yes, I am at heart a professional wrestling traditionalist. I love the idea of the legend going out on his back in his final match. I have no problem with Cena and or WWE making this decision. I have no problem with Gunther being the guy to tap Cena out. I loved the match as it was delivered and finished. The whole show was about featuring and platforming younger talent, and Cena transferred the capital that he built throughout 23 years of a WWE main roster career to the company's top heel. That's how it would have been done in nearly any other era. I'm just trying to explain it's not what I personally would have done in 2025. Not when we have seen other legends win their retirement matches recently, and not when Cena's last run did not deliver as well as it could have. This was a chance for a killer moment that was sacrificed for doing what is perceived historically to be the right thing. As far as the match goes, It started slow as if it was going to be a 45-minute bout. Then it picked up steam so quickly, I thought this shit might end in 10 minutes. It ultimately got plenty of time. The sleeper hold dominating the ending slowed it down markedly, but it was all for storytelling reasons. I believe Gunther had it locked in for 10 minutes on and off in the end. Cena got his stuff in. He was able to flash some throwback moves in big spots. Gunther did come across like a monster. The story of Gunther and his sleeper being this unstoppable force that could not be extinguished, even by someone as powerful as Cena, that was nails. The storytelling was perfect for what they were trying to achieve in the match. And if Cena was going to lose, tapping out, not passing out, was the right call. Doing the 3 arm raise is what you and I always beg from WWE, Chris. And to follow that with the tap out was poignant. What was particularly great in the finish is how Cena smiled right before he tapped out. Like he knew he had done his job and could let it all go. He knew he lost and was finally at peace, both in kayfabe and in reality. Not that different from Tony Stark at the end of Avengers Endgame. If Cena had won, this probably would have been an A+, knowing how the fans would have reacted, and it would have lifted the entire situation. And my final take is basically that WWE should have given the people what they wanted, even if it was not the traditional way someone goes out. As it went down, though, it was still excellent. 4.5 stars.
It's kind of, it's interesting because a lot of the TKO era and stuff like that, it's a lot of talk of stuff about like, this isn't the pro wrestling thing, you know, like even John Cena said the other day, they're not a live events company, they're a content company now. Mm-hmm. Everything that they do is seemingly built around what will create the most viral content. Mm-hmm. And in this, they went with the most pro wrestling thing you could possibly do.
Correct.
Having the hero go out on his back to the big foreign heel to set him up for what he does next. That is as pro wrestling as it gets. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that's why Cena wanted to do it. I respect him for it. I respect WWE for following through on it for all the reasons that I said. They didn't create the viral moments and stuff at the end of the show. If anything, the only thing that might have been there a little bit was the Cena smiling. A couple people used it as a meme, basically, but not a ton. And so I respect them going for that. And the way he tapped out, I think was very thoughtful. And it fit the story of the match in that moment. It was like, it was, because it's a sleeper. And we have always criticized Gunther doing the sleeper as a finish and just everybody passing out because it's not exciting. Also, it doesn't exactly make sense to tap out. But Cena taps out here because he had used up all of his energy. He had broken it enough. He had broken it so many times, but couldn't break out of it anymore. And so it was just like, all right, that's it. It's just like, all right, I'm done. I'm out of energy now. It wasn't like a tap, I'm in pain. It wasn't a tap, I'm passing out. It's just like, that's it. I can't do it anymore. I'm going to smile. I'm going to tap out. The most respectful tap out you could possibly do. So,
he was depleted. He was out. Over. Tank was empty.
Yes. I really respect the story that they told in that moment. And I hope people can appreciate that, because that was what it was, as old school wrestling as you can possibly get.
Yeah.
So they did that. That said, yeah, we both picked Cena to win. I thought he would win because I thought WWE would do the thing that would send everybody home happy. That's generally what they're always trying to do. And so, like, I wish Cena had won personally because I would have liked that moment.
So you agree? You agree that, like, if you were booking it, if you had the decision to make, you're putting Cena over?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would have hurt Gunther at all.
No.
And in fact, like, as I think, we thought going in, it turns out Gunther is actually the perfect guy for him to fight here, this and that and whatever. And I had said coming into the tournament, Gunther doesn't really need it. Now we'll talk about what we think happens with these people going onward, but I'm going to assume here that Gunther is about to go on some like incredible run, big moment. That's, you have to build off of this. And I imagine that they will. So I get that. But I kept thinking back as it relates to the crowd booing and not being happy with the end. I keep thinking back to Ric Flair's retirement Who did he lose to? He didn't put over a young guy
No.
on his way out. He lost to Shawn Michaels.
Yes.
Who himself was going to be retired a couple of years later by The Undertaker. And in those two situations, they lost to another fan favorite. So, like, what if CM Punk had retired John Cena or Randy Orton or something like that?
Mhm.
Like, would that have been better? What do you think?
You know, you could say put over someone younger, right?
I mean, Gunther's 38 too,
Well,
by the way.
yeah,
so-
Obafemi or, someone else, Braun Breaker, you put in that
but
spot.
I'm saying if he went up against another superstar who fans loved and also cheered for, would fans have booed the loss? I don't think they would.
If you want
I think they
if you want the equivalent, and it's not the same, because Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels had even though it was Ric Flair and Triple H that was the mentor mentee, there was very much a generational divide between those two. But the equivalent would have been doing the John Cena AJ Styles match here and having AJ win and do all the homages and level everything up like that. But AJ wins because he's going to retire, 6 months from now. Let me just, as a point of order, since you brought up Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels, just a guess from you. How old do you think Shawn Michaels was when he beat Ric Flair?
Ooh, good question.
Because we said Gunther's 38 and John Cena was 48, right?
I'm going to say 40.
43.
Wow.
He was 5 years older than Gunther and near the end of his career. Gunther is 38 with probably, 7 more years to go. And he's one of the top people in WWE. So, would it have worked if it was a peer? Like you're saying, an AJ Styles, a Randy Orton? I don't know. I would prefer Gunther to either of them. If you're going to have someone gain the equity of beating Cena and use that to propel them, higher, I might have gone with Braun Breaker instead, maybe. But I have no issue with it being Gunther. I thought Gunther was the perfect opponent when I thought Cena was winning. I believe he's less perfect that he won, but still, I mean, how many options do you have as long as you're going with a heel? He was maybe a top 2 or 3 instead of the clear-cut number 1. That's really the only difference.
Well, it's like what I said on the preview show, which is like, Gunther is not at that level yet. Like he is,
This should be the propellant. I mean,
right. And this is what it needs. This needs to be him turning in a Hall of Fame run to the end of his career and becomes one of the best heels we've ever known or whatever. Because it's like, what is your favorite Gunther main roster storyline or moment or this or that? And there really hasn't been that many.
About that,
the record long Intercontinental title reign, the long world title reign, like it really.
You know what it
was
is? It's the Sheamus feud. It's the Sheamus feud that Sheamus never won.
Yeah,
that's what stands out to me.
But it's to my point where it's like, think about John Cena's career and all these moments he had in Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels and all these guys. And so you have to now use this moment to book Gunther. It can't just be he retired Goldberg, he retired Cena, because it's not about him.
Yeah,
like Cena's retirement loss, everybody's just talking about Cena losing. They're not talking about Gunther winning.
Right.
So you have to Is Gunther on SmackDown or Raw? Either way, it doesn't matter.
He's on Raw. He should be the first person out Monday night.
He needs to be the first person there on Monday Night Raw, because this was a show that a lot of people who don't watch wrestling or haven't in a long time watched to see John Cena. So they may tune in to Raw and they need to learn who Gunther was, because frankly, this show did not do a good job of building him up to people who may not know who he is.
I did find it to be a miss that he didn't get a video package before the match. They should have introduced, this is Gunther, this dominant guy. Now, commentary talked about it when he made his way to the ring, but visual always hits more than audio. And if they were able to build a package of his record Intercontinental title reign, his dominant matches, some of his crazy shit he did with Ilya Dragunov, the matches with Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, then you're really building this guy into the big bad, and you're saying, pay attention, because if this guy beats John Cena, you're going to want to watch him going forward. And to the point you were making about, capitalizing on this, that is what WWE needs to do. You cannot have him take out Cena and do anything short of main event one of the 2 nights of WrestleMania. I suppose the only other option, if he's not going to main event one of the 2 nights, would be him fighting and beating Brock Lesnar on the show. Those are the
No.
options. WWE
He-
Championship
he-
match, World Heavyweight Championship match, singles match that he wins over Brock Lesnar. Those are the three. That's it. He has to do one of those this year.
He has to be your most WrestleMania main event. Because if he's not,
should be.
then you would have failed this last year of Gunther.
Yeah.
You don't retire Goldberg and Cena in the same year, I think, right? Same year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not main event WrestleMania after that. You have to. He has to be at the level where everybody knows who he is, and that's what he's doing.
He should main
has
event
to be there.
WrestleMania and beat Cody Rhodes is really what he should be
Yes.
doing.
Yep.
You have to have him. He beat an older legend in Goldberg, the greatest of all time in John Cena, and then he beats the big time, white meat babyface that you currently have in Cody Rhodes. And Cody goes on, a depression type of streak, and then you have someone else that you're bubbling up into being a big time face. Take down Gunther whenever that is. That is ideally what you do with him. I don't know. I think you and I have both agreed historically on this show that the two people we thought should have beaten Gunther were Sheamus and Chad Gable. And the two people that did beat him were Sami Zayn and Jey Uso. The Sami Zayn one was acceptable. The Jey Uso one, people wanted him to win the title, and he had a popular
I was
run.
fine with that. I was okay with that.
I know you were. I wasn't. I thought that match sucked, number one. But number two,
It did.
But number two, you have Jey Uso tap out Gunther the same year Gunther taps out John Cena. It's like, did you know that was going to happen? Because I don't think you did. You know what I mean? Like that couldn't have been the plan. Is my take back in March. So that's where I stand on Gunther. I want to mention two things about Gunther that popped me during the match. First, when they were doing the ring announcements, and you could see him realize in the moment, holy shit, I am John Cena's last opponent. Like he felt the gravity of the moment. He was trying to hold back a grin. And then when Cena put him on his shoulders and did the avalanche AA, and the crowd like all raised at the same time and like were cheering, he couldn't help but smile. And then he took the AA. So there were three notable smiles for me during the ring announcements, the AA, and then Cena smiling in the end. I thought that was all just really touching. I also wanted to know, Chris, Cena alluded to this finish on multiple interviews promoting Saturday Night's Main Event. It went over my head. I don't know if you saw all the interviews too. Maybe it went over yours. He kept saying, fans need to understand this is my last match. When it's over, it's over. You need to find your own closure and accept it no matter how it goes. He kept saying that.
He did.
He told us ahead of time that this is what's going to happen. I got a bunch of, I have one other, off topic from here, and then we can talk about what happened in the post match. What did you think about this whole angle that WWE hammered home of professional wrestling defeating sports entertainment? Like, does that resonate in 2025? Because I loved the call by Michael Cole. He absolutely nailed it. But are people supposed to be upset by that? Because it makes sense given the context of the characters. I just don't know if that angle has legs beyond this one night, but it seemed like WWE was trying to push it forward that Gunther is going to beat all your sports entertainers because he's a real professional wrestler. That's the storyline for the other company. That's not a storyline for WWE. What do you think about that?
How different is that than the ring general gimmick, really, like back in NXT?
Not that different.
That's my thought. And I just don't know if the pro wrestling versus sports entertainment idea resonates with anybody who has any freaking idea what those terms mean.
Right.
Like if you're just a casual, that you don't know what the heck they're talking about. So that I'm not sure. I think this really was just about Cena. And I think they did say something like Gunther's like a 70s, 80s throwback guy too. Like they tried to paint that image for you. But yeah, I don't know if as his theme, no. I mean, like he shouldn't come out on Raw and say, I'm going to destroy your sports entertainment. He should come out on Raw and say, I'm taking your championship.
He did say on the go home, his promo, that Cena's the greatest of all time. He's the greatest sports entertainer. I'm the greatest professional wrestler. So they've been telling this story, and then Michael Cole nailed that line. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they're doing it. I think they're going to run with it. I don't know why, but it seems like that's
I
what they're
did
doing.
think they didn't commentary, unless I missed it. I didn't think they really told the story that Gunther set on his way out coming into the match was, I'm going to make you give up. And we thought, all right, that's going to be the theme of the match. But the match didn't really play out that way, and commentary didn't really like.
Oh no, it definitely
talk
played.
about
It
that
definitely played out that way. No,
It did in the end, but when
no,
they-
it did. It did in the middle. So in the middle of the match, actually early in the match, Gunther was hitting his power moves on Cena, and then he started doing a barrage of clotheslines. And every single time, like it was an I Quit match, he went to the referee. He's like, "Yo, make him give up. Ask him if he's giving up." He did it like for 5 minutes almost.
That's true.
So he did it in the middle of the match. He did it at the end of the match for sure.
Because I had been thinking, like, with the way Gunther beat LA Knight with that, that face hold where you do tap, I thought he was going to be doing stuff like that.
I would have liked if he finished that. I would have liked that better than the sleeper. I've never liked Gunther and the sleeper. He's such a big guy.
Yeah.
It seems like he should have a better submission move. I think it was the cravat that he used on LA Knight on the final match. That would have been perfect. So, especially when especially once the sleeper wasn't working, he gives up. He's screw it, and he goes to the cravat, and that's how he wins.
Yeah, I mean, like I thought the finish was really good. I liked it. I just didn't think it didn't feel like I thought we were going to kind of have a match based around will Cena tap, and then the whole time you're thinking, will he tap? Will he tap? No, we know it's not going to tap. We know it's not going to tap. Then oh my god, he tapped, and that's it. Instead, there wasn't really a tappable moment until he just tapped.
Right,
and I think that's why everybody's kind of surprised.
So let's move on to the post-match here. Cena obviously stayed in the ring afterward. As the fans were starting to cheer him, they were coming around from being disappointed about the match to cheering him. Paul Levesque and Stephanie McMahon led out a procession of talent and backstage people, with fans first booing him and then chanting, "You effed up," for a decision that Cena made himself. They're blaming Paul Levesque for a decision that Cena made. Tons of superstars and notable WWE names surrounded the ring. Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, they handed Cena their respective WWE and World Heavyweight Championships. You could tell that this wasn't planned and Cena didn't want them. He didn't want the ceremony of the entire thing, but nevertheless, that's what they did. Levesque got booed multiple times, including when he hugged Cena. To present a video package, I believe WWE had already aired multiple times. There were so many video packages, I couldn't tell if it was one of the ones I'd already seen or not, but it didn't seem different or unique or special in that moment. Once that was over, Cena bowed to all four sides of the ring and saluted. He left his shoes and his sweatbands in the ring. And this was a really funny gimmick, in the post show. And even now, the dude was wearing Skechers and you leave your boots in the ring. The Skechers, just seeing sneakers on top of that logo in particular was just it didn't hit the same is what I'm trying to say.
He had to leave the jorts, but you couldn't take off the jorts.
Well, the fans chanted for that. They're like, leave the jorts. And he didn't do it. I would have loved, by the way, for him to wear Reebok pumps in the match. He should have, and then pumped up. He should have done a couple throwbacks or callbacks. He didn't do it.
Jey Uso had a comment on the post show he was like, he left those raggedy ass Skechers.
Right.
I will say it is wild. And I thought it's really cool in terms of the crowd and all that. The beginning of the match when they're waiting for Cena, let's go Cena chants. There was nobody saying Cena sucks.
Well, of course. All right.
It was not as let's go Cena. Not even for fun. It was 100% let's go Cena. I couldn't remember last time that happened. And we get to this end. When I got back into pro wrestling around 2012, 2013, fans were very split. The internet wrestling people hated John Cena. He was getting booed all the time. And for mostly that group of people to be booing that Cena didn't win at the end, I thought was just kind of a remarkable twist of how Cena really turned things around the last number of years and all that kind of stuff. It's
undoubtedly.
Cena, they're chanting Super Cena in the match. That was an insult.
They did that in another match. Was it the AJ Styles match? I'm trying to remember.
Maybe.
Or the Cody Rhodes match, I think it was. The SummerSlam.
It was on this last one, I was like, no, we're going to lean into all the Cena-ness of it all and support it. And they were upset that they didn't get it.
So he leaves all that stuff in the ring. No speech from him at all. He turned around one last time at the stage, winked at Stu. He bowed, saluted. I think he said, "Thank you for allowing me to serve you."
Yep.
And then he walked out by himself and touched the screen in the back. When the post show started, Cody was the last person hanging out ringside, staring at Cena's gear. He legitimately cried while eulogizing Cena's career and his place in the business. And they kept telling us this is not planned. Cody was not, supposed to do this interview. Maybe I'm, going to be a mark here. I believed them. I didn't think that was staged at all.
Well, you never know with Cody.
I know, but I didn't think it was, I'm saying.
Yeah.
It felt legit to me. The guy was crying. Now, he's a great actor in terms of wrestling, and he cries all the time, but it seemed real to me. It's still real to me, damn it. Look, it's a shame that Cena's retirement sign-off got soiled by the fan sentiment, thinking that this was Paul Levesque's fault and not John Cena's fault. So, on behalf of Paul,
Me and my friend Mark, we're going to stop watching.
again, WWE, they should have been smart enough to know that this would be the reaction in 2025. I'm not saying they should have changed the finish for the response, but they should have been smarter in the post-match to ensure Cena got cheered. It's okay for the fans to want Cena to win, but soiling his sign-off and not flipping a switch in your head to focus your energy on praising this guy and sending him out the right way, I gotta tell you, man, it was kind of classless from the crowd. I thought it would have been cooler, by the way, in the post-match for Cena to go through like a full procession, coming across familiar faces and people he particularly loved on his way out. He comes across Kurt Angle, fake slaps him, comes across The Undertaker, shakes his hand.
Haku.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying they were ringside, but I'm saying like going down the ramp or around the ring, hugs, Triple H, does something special with KO, like going all Becky Lynch, does something, whatever the case might have been. I just thought it would have been really awesome for him to have individual moments with people and then kind of leave and go out and do his own thing. I keep thinking about like Derek Jeter's retirement, where he had individual moments with like Andy Pettit and Mariano Rivera. Actually might be messing that up. It might have been Mariano Rivera's retirement, where he had moments with Derek Jeter and Andy Pettit, etc. The point is, I thought it could have been done a little bit better with that type of procession. I also would have liked to have seen a fresh video at the end, and I would have loved to have heard a speech from Cena. Now, this was perfectly fine. It was still emotional seeing him go out like that. The stuff on the ramp at the end was shot perfectly, but look, the fans, it's okay if you're upset that he didn't win the match. They really, to a significant degree, soiled the final moment unnecessarily, and I think it affected Cena a little bit. It was unfair to him.
Yeah, like, guys, it's not real. Like, what? But that's also on WWE for telling us over the last year,
yes,
hey, it's not real. Hey, we write the show. Hey, I'm Triple H. I'm the guy who makes all the decisions. So when you make a decision they don't like, they're going to boo you.
Yep.
And you're out there front and center. So I don't like that the fans did that. Like, you can boo, for a minute or whatever that you're upset off, but like, guys, it's the last time you're going to see him. Why are you still booing? Enjoy it. Take it in. Like, it's done. I hated that. I didn't think it was fair to Cena. And mostly I just think it was fair to the fans who were there cheering. Like, it's like, yeah, I didn't understand.
Hey, Washington, D.C. fans.
This right here is bullshit.
Yeah, it was bullshit. You guys screwed up. It's as simple as that. Like, we're not telling you not to be angry at the finish. A heel won. It's not what you wanted. Fine. Boo for a minute, 90 seconds, whatever the case. But what you did was inappropriate and relatively classless at the end there. But Chris, the point you made is correct. If WWE is pulling back the curtain and they're going to give us WWE Unreal, this is a consequence of doing that. Like, they're learning that in real time, because rather than boo the heel who won and boo the situation that unfolded, they're booing the booker.
Yep. And that is coming out of this.
Yep.
Are people going to want to see Gunther get beat? I don't know. That was the problem with so much of the mid 2010s era, where fans would hijack shows and stuff like that. As it became impossible to tell a story because all the fans there were just thinking about it like smart marks in the booking. And now you've made that like part of your story, which is why I hated the way they did Unreal and how much they make this public, because it's like, no, we want to be sucked into the story. And instead you just keep hitting us over the head by telling us it's not real. Well, then we're not going to boo the heel so much.
Yeah, no, totally agree. My friend who was at the show, two people I knew were there, but one of them, he said everyone walking out of the arena was pissed and it wasn't pleasant at the end leaving. So, we'll see if there's further fallout and we'll talk about that. But
here's the thought. Do you think they're partly mad that like they thought John Cena's last match was going to be a win and a moment we all remember and talk about forever, and that they didn't get that?
Yes, that's what I believe.
Yeah. So it's like,
And it's why I believe they should have done it, because in the point you made earlier was fantastic. This was as pro wrestling of a finish to this match as you could possibly book. And that inherently is not bad. But this is what I was saying earlier. In 2025, with the direction WWE is going, it wasn't the right decision for what their product has become and what the fans are expecting.
Yeah, and I think if you think about the ticket prices for the show,
And
which
for
were
that
astronomical,
Yep.
and what they're charging people for things now, like you have elevated the bar now where you have to try to send everybody home happy every single time. And when you don't, they're going to be upset that you didn't give them that.
Nailed it.
That's modern wrestling.
Yeah. Completely nailed it. Look, we've spoken at times on this show about tipping points when it comes to not only WWE's popularity, but like how the company itself is viewed by fans, either as a babyface or a heel. WWE was enjoying this incredible babyface push starting as soon as Paul Levesque took over creative. And I feel like it started cratering a little bit coming out of WrestleMania, and it may now be extinguished coming out of John Cena's final match. Beyond booking in 2025 that has been less successful than what WWE put out the prior 3 years from 2022 to 2024. And let me be very clear when I say this. It is still eons better than it was in 2010 through 2019. Okay. I mean, the creative is way better. The women are getting more time. The storylines make sense. There's logic most of the time. Like the product is way better than it used to be, but it hasn't been this year as cohesive as it was the 3 years prior. So it has taken a little bit of a dip. But besides that, even the TKO takeover, what has come on the back end of that, an abundance of advertising, platforming some controversial celebrities that people really don't like, Raw going to Netflix, not being on easily accessible TV, the Royal Rumble and now a WrestleMania being held in Saudi Arabia. And now you have fans blaming Hunter for what was almost surely Cena's decision. This confluence of events and occurrences, it makes me believe that it is quite possible the shine has now worn off. I'm not suggesting business is all of a sudden going to tank, but I am saying it's possible, and probably likely even, that the perception of WWE has fully swung to the other side. It's possible I'm wrong about this, but you and I have had this conversation for 6 years on this podcast, and we generally know when those tentpole moments happen. I feel like I'm pretty spot on here, and that WWE, if they haven't become the heel again, they're at least not the babyface anymore.
That is interesting because, there was that period when Triple H took over, and for the next year or so, we all liked it, and they developed and conditioned a crowd that did what they wanted them to do. And AEW had taken a lot of the smarks over there. Those people weren't watching WWE anymore.
Yeah, they cleared the deck. Sorry to interrupt you. They cleared the deck.
They had the exact crowd that they wanted. And this year, we've started to go back in that direction. I'm not going to say it's fully swung.
No.
But you think about Cody getting booed against heel Cena.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Think about tonight. Like, yeah, they'll go to Europe and they'll get what they want. But I do wonder, not that it's like fully turned or anything, but we do seem to be heading back in that direction where now the crowd's chanting F you and stuff like that. That was not happening.
No.
A year or two ago.
You're also in a major metropolitan city. I mean, but yeah.
No, I know. But like, it's the crowd is kind of getting back to where like, oh, we are in control, or we are going to start to kind of take over some moments. And I don't think that's good.
Yeah. And I think as opposed to what happened previously, where the pendulum would swing when WWE was a heel, let's say, to the other company, I think the pendulum is going into the middle where people just wouldn't watch. I don't, because we're seeing what's happening over there, and business isn't great in terms of like, it's not growing. There's issues in terms of, ratings and attendance and working smaller venues and all that type of stuff. So I don't think you're going to see, if this is all true, and if WWE has become the heel and, they're no longer getting the benefit of the doubt that they were for so long under Paul Levesque. I think that would just lead to people not watching. And that is, and not spending money. Forget the not watching, not spending money. WWE, they keep increasing these ticket prices. They tell people, we're going to give you moments. You're going to get Survivor Series War Games. You're only getting 4 matches, but you're going to get all the stars. Matches aren't even going to be good, but you're going to get all the stars. And then, hey, we need 20,000 of you here for John Cena's last match. And we're going to give you 4 matches. It's only a 2-hour show, so it's okay. But one match isn't going to even finish clean. All of them are going to be short, except for the main event. And in the main event, we're not going to pay off all the money that you invested in the show because we're going to do the opposite of what all of you clearly wanted on this night.
And we're not doing house shows to create ticket scarcity.
Right. Because we want every one of these events to be, this is the only time WWE is going to come to my area for the year, or whatever the case. So it's a sticky situation for them right now, I believe, coming out of this show. And we'll see if, this is the pinpoint, right? We're taping this. We've crossed over to the next day, Sunday, December 14th. Let's see what happens from here on out. Royal Rumble is going to be a major test in Saudi Arabia. Fans are going to stick with it, if they're going to be able to claim high viewership or not. I mean, there's going to be fewer people attending in terms of their main audience, Americans, right? So maybe there will still be equal level of interest. Maybe there's going to be such star power at that show because it's going to require it, given its location and all that. But it's going to be real curious to see what ticket sales are like for WrestleMania. They're running the same venue 2 years in a row, Las Vegas. I don't know what sales are like right now. So yeah, I'm real curious to see, number one, if this affects business. And business is naturally going to go down year over year because there's no Cena. Cena really, they were doing record shows in 2025. So really the numbers you're going to want to compare are 2026 to 2024. But regardless of that, it's not just about the business aspect. It's the sentiment and the way fans perceive WWE. Because again, 2022, 24, babyface. And you felt it in the shows. You felt it in the response that Triple H was getting every single time he would come out. People were bowing down to him like he was Vince McMahon, back in the day. And then you heard what happened here, and you've seen some of the talk online. And I believe a lot of the shit that's been flung his way leading up to this, he didn't entirely deserve outside of WrestleMania, which he did. But here, and then moving forward, it's going to be really curious to see how people perceive WWE. So let's put a pin in that unless you had something else. Yeah.
No. And last thing, just to go back to Cena real quick. It was really cool kind of in the last couple of days to see all the tributes and all the memories of people sharing all these things, pro sports teams, all the jerseys he wore.
Oh yeah.
I love that John Cena retrospective we did on the last episode of the show, or 2 episodes ago, I think, on the show. For people who haven't listened to that, we go through his career, the biggest moments. We go through the whole retirement run. We don't need to relitigate the whole retirement run here. There was good, there was bad. And we talked about that already on that episode. But John Cena, man, one of the best to ever do it. Not the best. He's not the GOAT. It feels like WWE is trying to make him, in their history, the new Hulk Hogan, for understandable reasons. He's not. But
well, the idea is, I mean, look, I don't think he's the GOAT, but 23 years, most of them, the vast majority of them, as the greatest draw for WWE, including this year, record after record at every major show he attended. I don't think he's the GOAT, but I don't think it's crazy for them to call him that.
No, but I do think this is about setting up that next generation.
It is.
That set of fans who got into it because of Cena. WWE is telling them, hey, your guy is the best one to ever do this. And every generation kind of has their own, for sure. I wasn't even an 80s wrestling guy. I wasn't alive for that. But they want it to be like when people say pro wrestling, that thing with John Cena, that's what they want. Hulk Hogan is still kind of the default guy people go to, or maybe The Rock. But they really, over the last week and on the show, have really tried to be like, John Cena is the best to ever do that, according to us. And I don't agree with that, but they may convince a generation that he was. And to that generation, he might have been.
I believe there's a legitimate case to call him that, even if I disagree. But if you're WWE, you should be going all in as him being the greatest of all time. He's clean cut. He does everything right. He has the Make-A-Wish record, thing after thing, point after point. He has the title record, 17. He has the Grand Slam, all those accolades he has achieved. So while you and I disagree with it, I have zero issue with WWE claiming that. And go ahead.
Nobody's expecting a leaked John Cena sex tape where he says some racial slurs. Let's put it that way.
Exactly. And by the way, wrapping up everything that you were kind of just saying, I agree with you. I loved this whole week of, the special videos they were putting out, the way the WWE superstars honored him, what a lot of the individual professional sports teams did, some of the athletes, the way they came out individually. John Cena, his round of interviews, there's one I skipped. You guys can probably figure out what show that was, but I watched all the other ones and they weren't overly revealing because John Cena has probably never given that revealing of an interview, but they were all really solid. They promoted the show well. On the Pat McAfee show, there were two notes I had. He claimed that no matter what WWE booked for his retirement run, people would complain about not being able to do X or Y or Z. And regarding pivots that happened over the last year, he specifically cited that everything after WrestleMania was stuff that was not planned as it was originally going to happen because they decided to do the heel turn, obviously, and things then had to change on the back end of that. So referring back to what you talked about from our ultimate preview, which was not just an ultimate preview of Saturday night's main event, but it was a full retrospective on John Cena's career and his 36-date retirement run. I came into this show, for those of you who listened to it, with 19 out of 36 points. That's how many points I awarded. This I would not consider, great necessarily because of the reaction and because Cena didn't win the match. I'll give it a good. So that gives him 20 out of 36, which is clearly there was much more good as far as I'm concerned, Chris, than there was bad, much more positive than there was negative. And we laid out many of those individual segments that actually are memorable that I will go back and watch and remember and recall, not just segments, but matches. But yeah, this was not perfect by any means. And it's kind of unfortunate that it ended on this note, not the finish, but the way the people reacted to it and how that carried over into his sign off, his actual retirement, which succeeded the match.
Yeah, I would say good. Good, and much like a lot of the other things, like just some like extra effort could have made a lot of it great.
Foresight, yeah.
Yeah. In this instance, it's building up Gunther and introducing him to everybody or reintroducing him to people who don't know on the show. And I just didn't think they did a very good job of that. That's not Cena's fault. That's more that's more the planning and execution of WWE.
No question. Well, there were 3 more bouts on this card, and we're going to discuss them all. But before we do that, Silver King does need to remind you that whether you are watching WWE Premium Live events on Netflix, Saturday night's main event, originally on Peacock, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, it doesn't matter. These days, I am all in with NordVPN. It's easy to set up. It's a drastically better viewing experience with high-quality streams and commercial-free shows. All you have to do is sign up at nordvpn.com/gettingover, open the app, quick connect to another country like Canada, United Kingdom, open Netflix or YouTube, and watch the show. That is crucial for me because I get to watch all of these shows commercial-free, and that included Saturday night's main event, which on YouTube did not have commercials outside of the United States like it did on Peacock. NordVPN also allows you to get around online censorship or surveillance, protect your private data when web browsing, and avoid online threats. Plus, one NordVPN account can be used on 10 devices. To get the best discount from NordVPN, go to nordvpn.com/gettingover. Our link will give you 4 extra free months off the 2-year plan. And there's no risk because Nord has a 30-day money-back guarantee. So improve your WWE viewing, save money, browse safer online, and get the best discount for the best VPN at nordvpn.com/gettingover. It is great to have NordVPN as the official singular sponsor of your boys right here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. As mentioned, 3 more matches to go, and we are also going to break down go-home segments that happened Friday night on SmackDown. So Cody Rhodes versus Oba Femi. This opened the show on Saturday, but on Friday, Oba confronted Cody at the opening of SmackDown. The crowd reacted well, seeming to know him. Femi told Rhodes that he should be worried about him, not Drew McIntyre. He ran through his nicknames before clarifying he's not the future, he's the present, knocking on Cody's front door. Then he said, quote, "In the spirit of hustle, loyalty, and respect, your time is up. My time is now." Rhodes reminded that he's actually beaten Cena, but when he tried to walk away, Femi grabbed his arm and they raised their titles simultaneously. Oba also got an introductory video package later in the show. This was rather boilerplate stuff, but you're not going to get these guys crazy heated going back and forth 24 hours before an exhibition match if you're not going to pay it off with a longer-term feud on the back end. Most important was that Oba remained confident. He held his own. I'd call him a 9 out of 10 in that aspect. I wish that he added some of his lines from his NXT promo on Tuesday. This was not a sink or swim type of segment for him, but he did his job. And if I had to grade it, he definitely swam. He did not sink. Femi had the presence and look and the entrance even and the theme of a WWE superstar. He's a no doubter, and we've known that for quite some time. It was awesome to hear a main roster audience understand the cadence of his chants. That means they're already bought in, and hopefully they're doing this full time in about 5 months. The last NXT talent, Chris, to show up on the main roster and command attention and get a response like that was Kevin Owens, which is incredible company to keep. I was ultimately not dissuaded from my overall prediction for the scheduled match. We talked about it on the Ultimate Preview, and I thought it was a successful segment, even if it wasn't that deep.
No, yeah, it was. I mean, he had not shown up. Had he been in the ring on the main roster at all?
No, he did the backstage segment the week prior with Nick Aldis and Cody. That's it. Yeah.
So, this was. You couldn't have asked for anything more. You had the crowd who knew him and did the chant that helps the people on TV. He was tremendously confident out there. Like that, as someone who doesn't watch him every week on NXT, that jumped out to me from maybe the last time I watched him. Was like, oh, he seems a lot more comfortable out there on the mic too. So I thought this was everything you could want. Yeah.
And by the way, Chris did a great profile interview with Oba Femi. Was it earlier this year?
It was, yes. It was before Stand and Deliver.
Before WrestleMania. Okay.
Before WrestleMania. Yeah, I talked to him for a story on his life journey, his NIL path story for The Athletic that ran in the summer. But
I was going to promote your YouTube interview is what I was trying to
do. Yeah. I have the full interview. I have the full interview up on my YouTube channel, just Chris Vanini on YouTube.
You also can just check our social media feed at Getting Overcast. I retweeted it earlier today. So make sure you go watch that. Chris, one of the reasons I liked it so much is because I'm going to put in a request to interview Oba here on the show. And I don't have to ask him any of those questions, which is great because you covered so much. It was a 30-minute interview. You went over his whole backstory, which was awesome. So now when we talk to him, hopefully coming up sooner than later, I know all the details that you've already gotten from him, and we can actually ask some in-depth questions and kind of, not that yours weren't in depth. I'm just saying about his WWE career and some of the, we can expand on the things you already asked him is what I'm trying to
fascinating life story that not really anybody had in depth gone into in terms of what he did in Nigeria, how he came to the US, what that was like. It was really interesting.
What interested me the most, I don't mean to get off topic on Saturday Night's Main Event, but I was really interested that he didn't really want to get into the details of what he didn't have in Nigeria.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was embarrassment or, I don't think it was shame or anything like that, but it was just, I feel like he didn't want to depress people maybe. It was really interesting. The way his perspective was, but okay.
I didn't want to push too hard. Once he had said it, he didn't really want to get into that.
Yeah.
He also didn't really didn't want to get into what his parents think of him wrestling.
Yeah,
and how often they'd seen him. So that was not the place to kind of get into it. But it was interesting. That's I think kind of the beginning and the end of the interview.
Yeah, right. That's the way it came. Anyway, let's circle back. Saturday Night's Main Event, but go watch that interview from Chris. So the visual that started Oba's entrance with a bright light shining at his back was incredible, as was 19,000 plus people doing the chant during his effing theme. Femi caught Rhodes trying his falling thrust upward, deadlifting him for a Uranagi backbreaker. Then he simply refused to be body slammed, feet planted. Cody dodged him into the ring post, finally took him down with a power slam and Cody cutter. Oba came back with a catch spine buster that would make Arn Anderson proud, followed by a European uppercut with both men flying over the announce table. Rhodes' ear caught, I think, a corner, immediately started bleeding. Femi capitalized with an almighty spine buster back inside. Just as Rhodes hit a double jump Cody cutter, Drew McIntyre ran in from the crowd, causing a blatant disqualification. Femi pulled him off in a rage, shoving him to the canvas. Cody respawned with a Cody cutter. Oba then chokeslammed Drew, and they got chance. Rhodes then threw Femi the NXT title, raised his arm. Despite fans chanting, restart match, which I thought they were actually going to do. This was right in the middle, Chris, of being an incredible match, only for it to have as much of a letdown finish as one could possibly book. It was stunning, really. We both predicted McIntyre interference, whether that resulted in a DQ, no contest, maybe Femi beating Rhodes. I had no issue with it happening. Let's not get it twisted. I understand why WWE did it, but there were literally 100 different ways to have McIntyre interfere in this match that would have been more interesting and entertaining than what they ultimately did. This was choice 101. I mean, we have seen booking like this thousands of times as wrestling fans. What WWE did here was easily the laziest version possible. He just ran into the ring in clear view of the referee and attacked Rhodes. That's it. Match over. It's not like Cody had just hit the crossroads and was going to win and he wanted to prevent that. It just right in the middle of the match, it just interfered. The Cody and Oba team up was even kind of weak on its own. Neither guy hit their finisher. Perhaps even worse is that the match only got 11 or 12 minutes before McIntyre ran in.
That's the problem.
Yeah, it should have gotten 15 to 17 if you're going to end it that way. It felt like it was just getting started when it ended. But I truly do not believe it would have hurt anyone for McIntyre to Claymore Rhodes, on the floor with the referee down, let's say. Then Femi sees that, he shrugs, hits his finisher and wins. Like, does anyone really look at Cody after that, if that was to happen, and say, wow, he's a weak, undeserving champion? No, of course they don't. It wouldn't have mattered at all. And no, this doesn't mean that McIntyre is getting more heat. The anger from fans is at WWE, again, not him for interfering. In fact, while no one lost the match, McIntyre came out of this like a loser. He got crushed by both of these guys. Now, is it possible they called this match early because Cody got hurt? I suppose.
Yeah.
I thought he only hurt the exterior of his ear and he was just working fine after that. So that would have been an overreaction if so. If I am wrong and he busted his eardrum and his ear was bleeding from the inside out, then there might have been something to ending the match early. Maybe this wasn't the exact plan. It also seemed like WWE might continue the match the way this went. Once McIntyre was vanquished, I was like, oh, wow, are they really going to restart this? And then, of course, they didn't. Finish aside, Cody and Oba were awesome together. This was on its way to an A grade if it finished clean, an A- with the expected interference. But the way it ended, I have to cap it at 3.75 stars B+. It was so unnecessary to end it this lazily. And it brought down the energy on a show that was crazy hype when this match started. The huge positive coming out of it is that Oba got massive exposure. He was over huge with the fans, and he proved without a doubt that he can go with the best of the best on the main roster. The phrase gets overused. He looked like $1 million, but the finish, dollar store finish.
When the finish happened, the only thing I could think about that first came to mind was that drop we have of The Rock.
Are you fucking kidding me?
That one?
Yeah. Like it was so short. Like, it was really starting to kind of get going. And I was like, these guys are doing pretty good together. I'm very excited to see where this goes. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's over. And yes, if they ended it early because Cody was hurt, fair enough. I'm just going to base this off of the assumption that that was not the case. But man, Obafemi, incredible presence. You can see what they have seen in him all along. And your point about like how nobody lost the match. I guess Obafemi came out of this like looking good, but like nobody looked great with the way that whole thing ended. Drew just looked kind of annoying and gets swatted away like a bug. Cody was kind of whatever. Obafemi looked good, but he didn't get to hit his biggest moves and stuff like that on anybody. So it's just like, man, I feel like we could have done some more stuff here, but it was a good start. It should have been a bit more, but from what they gave us, everything was good except for the finish. You can have him interfere any million different ways other than the way they did it.
Yeah, it just felt so lazy. I've said the word twice, 3 times now. You can be so much more creative, and everyone knew it was coming. Like we talk, if you and I are both predicting it on the Ultimate Preview, right? And we're not even upset that it's going to happen because it makes sense because it's Cody Rhodes and Obafemi. And okay, we understand WWE doesn't want either of those guys to lose. Maybe if it was like AJ Styles and Obafemi, you could say, okay, Styles should probably lose that match. We were fine with it coming in. We even talked about it. How can they do it that'll make it really exciting and interesting. And they just
it would have
didn't bother.
It would have been a nice homage to Cena if Cody had lost the way Kevin Owens did, and then just rematch them on Raw or Royal Rumble or something. Have Cody get the win, and you're good.
I mean, coming out of this, it's like I don't think Drew's winning that title. I did. You guys know for months. For months, I have been of the belief that McIntyre would win the WWE Championship. After this, I don't know. I don't think so. All right, let's move on to Bayley versus Sol Ruca. It was so typical of SmackDown creative, okay? They had segments planned for all the key NXT men wrestling on Saturday night's main event, but absolutely nothing for the women. Bayley and Sol literally waved from the crowd. That's it. They could have had Sol do a backstage segment with the women's division or wrestle a match against a veteran. Nope. Just smile and wave, ladies. Just smile and wave. It is insane how disparate SmackDown is from Raw and NXT when it comes to booking the women's division. So we get to the match. Lyra Valkyria and Zarya were both ringside, which was nice to get more women on the show. Sol was in her most boring gear compared to what she normally wears, and both of them wore red, which was so distracting and unnecessary visually. Ruca showed off her full acrobatic arsenal, including a flip-over handstand hurricanrana and cartwheel handspring moonsault over the ropes, the Sasuke special. Bayley avoided her fair share, but ate a great top rope cartwheel DDT. Bayley caught Sol springboarding for a Bayley to belly, then landed a draping step-off elbow drop. Sol flipped out of a rose plant attempt, countering with a running knee. Bayley then stopped Sol Snatcher cold, hit a rose plant, but Ruca bent backward and got a rope break with like the bottom of her foot. Sol got knees up to block an elbow drop, and when Bayley kicked out of a rolling cover, Sol immediately caught her while she was rising with a perfect Sol Snatcher, but Bayley's body rolled underneath the ropes. So Ruca dragged her back into the ring. As she did that, Bayley caught her in a pinning combination, and then Sol reversed it for the 1-2-3 in 10 minutes. All four women celebrated and saluted. I think some of them did John Cena's "You Can't See Me" when it was over. This match deserved more time, not just because it seemed to be unnecessarily short, but because it was so effing good. They crushed it. Bayley was the definition of a ring general here. Even though she played the heel side, the fans never booed her. She put Sol in position for success time and again, not only selling for her, but ensuring she was in the right spot to like protect all of her acrobatics and protect her physically. Ruca was nearly perfect, maybe a 9 out of 10 performance. A couple minor slips, nothing that most people would notice. This was a tremendous showcase for her talent and what WWE has waiting in the wings in the women's division, which was the entire point of Cena wanting this format. This may not have been the definition of a sprint match, but you know what? Other than being smoother if they had a little bit more experience working together, I'm not sure how it could have been much better for the time allotted. 4 stars, A-.
Yes, very good job. And they were able to do the finish in a way where you got to see the awesome Sol Snatcher, but also give us like a surprise 1-2-3 by doing the roll up in the reverse. So like that was pretty cool. I don't want to say critical, but I've been questioning of the gear that Sol Ruca was using in NXT and just how overly busy it was. I thought she had a more simplified look here and it helped a lot. And she looked like a pro wrestler and everything. So that was good. She is just like Obafemi came through the NIL program. Mm-hmm. We've known she's going to be a star. She's been on main roster before, but I think they were only tag matches. It was just the first singles main roster match for her. And if it was, they did a good job of establishing who she is. And people are going to come out of this saying, I need to see more of her.
That sounds right, that it was her first main roster singles match. I know one of them had a singles match as part of the tag team feud. You know, it might have been Sol that had that match against like Alexa Bliss or something. It's possible she did.
Yeah, could be.
I don't remember, but if it wasn't, this was definitely the highest profile match of her entire career.
Yeah.
And she crushed it, man. Like, credit to her. She really deserves it. We get AJ Styles and Dragon Lee against Javon Evans and Leon Slater. Javon backstage on SmackDown was gassed up about his match, only for The Miz to interrupt, saying he's the one who should be getting ready for a spotlight match on John Cena's last show. Miz took exception to being called Unk, saying he wrestled 2 guys Evans could never beat in that tournament. So Javon suggested they settle in the ring, which Miz was okay about, and Miz called him nephew, which was funny because the only person I've heard him using that context is Snoop Dogg. My immediate thought here, are they really about to have Javon beat Miz before Carmelo Hayes, who was actually feuding with him? At this point, I came to the assumption that WWE has just moved away from the Miz-Melo feud and they're just moving on from it. So we had Evans against Miz. Javon was on fire out of the gate, hitting all his bouncy moves. So Miz, during commercial, did a hysterical springboard axe hammer. I loved that. After the break, he did the 5 moves of doom, except Evans flipped out of a mirrored attitude adjustment. Miz prevented the OG cutter by catching him for a skull-crushing finale, but Javon escaped it and wound up hitting the OG cutter for legitimately the biggest win of his entire career. Michael Cole sold the win as significant, but he should have run down Miz's credentials, a 2-time WWE champion, 8-time Intercontinental champion, future Hall of Famer. He didn't do any of that. He did that earlier in the show when someone else pulled off an upset, so it made no sense why he failed to do it in this case. But it was great to see Javon on SmackDown again. Getting a win over The Miz should not be overlooked. That's big time. It tells you exactly what WWE thinks about this dude.
Yes. Great big singles match win for him. Commentary sold it pretty well. Yeah, I mean, he's big star and good match on SmackDown.
On Saturday night, the Neophytes were shot out of a cannon at the bell, hitting a pair of sky-high topes and a frog splash inside the first 45 seconds. Dragon came back with his float over Liger Bomb. Styles avoided a springboard moonsault ringside, spearing Evans into the barricade before Dragon took Leon off the ring apron with a Hurricanrana. AJ caught him, but Javon prevented a Styles clash, which got boos. I really do wish they hit that move ringside. Evans then caught Styles with the OG cutter, tagging in Slater for the Swanton 450 with his knees drilling AJ in the stomach for a broken fall. AJ was a good foot close to the ropes, way too close, but it still looked spectacular. Dragon then murked Javon with a tope cannonball as Styles countered Slater into a Styles clash that he used a handstand to escape. And I'm like, why don't more wrestlers do that? It's a perfect escape of a Styles clash. AJ then tripped and took a nasty fall on an attempted phenomenal forearm attempt. But Leon, who's, I forget how old, 21, 23, what? So smart, he immediately capitalizes in the ring. Then they improvise him flying off the ropes. Styles catches him, power bombs him, and then picks him up into a Styles clash to get the 1-2-3. This match was one spot away from perfection. And that's got to suck for AJ. I hope he's okay. I'm not sure if he was hurt or showing a bruised ego at the end. Good on Leon for making it work with hardly a pause. For a young, relatively inexperienced guy, that showed a lot of confidence and maturity. Whereas that other match was not necessarily a defined sprint with the women. This was a sprint. These guys went all out from the opening bell, and that OG cutter Swanton 450 sequence was crazy. The Young Guns got to show out, and again, that was the important part of doing the match. Mistakes happen, but when they come at the end of a bout, it hurts more than if they're in the middle or at the beginning. Still, 4.25 stars and an A. This set a bar that Cena and Gunther had to eclipse, and luckily they did.
So I had a thought during this match, and it popped up in the women's match too, because commentary talked about it. And that is that Sol Ruca is a very high-flying type of wrestler a bit, as someone who is also very tall.
Mm-hmm.
And they talked about how that's unusual with Sol Ruca and a tall woman and doing all that stuff. It's even more the case with Javon Evans, who I think is 6'5". I looked it up. He a guy that tall is usually not doing the things that he's doing. And there's part of me that's should you not do that? But then there's another part of me that's look at Victor Wembanyama in the NBA. Maybe this is just what athletes are now, everybody's crazy tall and athletic, and we just have to get used to that. But it's two new kinds of athletes, and they really showed that off in this match. They were fantastic. You did exactly what you wanted to in that moment. The other thing, the AJ slip.
Yeah.
There's part of me that wonders if that was a work. I have never seen AJ Styles slip on the rope.
Oh no, he slipped before.
It was so shocking that and so recovered so well. Maybe it was.
Can I interrupt you something? Really it wasn't a surprise that he slipped. It's a surprise that he fell because previously he slipped and then caught himself.
Yeah,
and then he's punched the guy and then done it again. He fell flat on his face.
And then selling it at the end, I was wondering, is that the first little thing?
Yeah, I thought
to tell us that AJ Styles is losing a step and that will be his storyline. And was that part of that? Or will they then just lean into it and make that the story? Either way,
could.
I was that looked very un AJ Styles and Maybe that's on purpose. Maybe it's not, but you can tell a story off of that.
You absolutely can tell a story off that. I don't know if they're going to, but they have done something like that before when there's been a botch or a mistake in a match, and then they play it into a storyline, whether it's 1 week or even longer than that. And since he is seemingly about to start his own retirement run,
right?
He starts making mistakes. He loses a few matches. He's like, man, I got to get my head right. And then, that takes him on his final journey. It'll be really interesting. There was one other surprise segment on the show. The Miz, who came to the ring in full gear, interrupted Stephanie McMahon's announce ahead of the main event. He went on a rant about being left off John Cena's retirement tour. He pointed out that he was wearing the same gear from when he defeated Cena at WrestleMania 27, saying he demanded respect from WWE and the fans. So R-Truth runs out in full Cena gear, but he was wearing a black hat instead of the Cena hat. I thought that was weird. But he said, Miz's dirty balls took the place of this ball that should have been the one to get the extra spot in the tournament. When Miz opened it, he questioned the name that he saw by saying Joe Hendry. And of course, Joe Hendry appeared, got his shit in, did a 5-knuckle shuffle with R-Truth, the turnaround emote together. And then Hendry hit standing ovation. And then Truth counted 1, 2, 3. This was a funny little moment. It was a cool way to get both Truth and Miz on the show, not to mention Hendry. Would I have preferred this time get added to any of the other matches? Of course. But the crowd loved it. And that's cool.
Yeah, when Miz comes out, the first thing I noticed, I was like, wait a minute, that's his WrestleMania 27 outfit. Mm-hmm. I would notice that anywhere. So that was a really nice touch. I'm glad he got on the show at least, because we had said, he does have quite a big history with Cena. He never really got the farewell feud or match like some of the others did. So Miz complaining his way onto the show makes sense. R-Truth, his whole thing with Cena, that makes sense. And the Joe Hendry stuff was funny. But we've now had Joe Hendry show up so many times on the main roster where it's like, all right, are we going to do something with him here? Or is he just going to be the funny spot guy or the big Royal Rumble pop WrestleMania tag team type of guy? I don't know. I was like, okay. But I'm ready for Joe Hendry to be more than that. But for what this was, it was fine.
That's a fair take. That's totally fine. So that takes us out of our instant analysis of WWE Saturday Night's main event, John Cena's last match, brings us to our grade segment where we're going to go over what our pre-show expectation grades were. And of course, we will give you a final grade on the show, but not just from Vintage and the Silver King, also from all of you, our Getting Overheads, who had the opportunity to vote on social media at Getting Overcast. Before we fully get into the grading of it all, a couple quick notes from the show that I wanted to share. Tremendous job all night by Lillian Garcia. She sang the Star Spangled Banner before the show, absolutely crushed it. She's sang it many times in WWE. I don't remember her nailing it to that degree. She also was awesome for Cena's ring announce. 10 out of 10 night for Lillian. Did you kind of hear and feel the same thing?
Completely agree.
Yeah, crushed it. The standout moment from the countdown show was R-Truth crushing a special John Cena remix of What's Up. Fresh lyrics, hook, all of that. We shared it on our social media at Getting Overcast. You can watch it there if you missed it. WWE also interviewed the cameraman Stu on the countdown, which was a really nice touch. And CM Punk cried when he was interviewed. That was sweet. The Rock sent a message to John Cena on social media. WWE didn't air it on the show. I thought that was pretty interesting. In terms of talent who were there, like celebrities and wrestlers and stuff, you had, I think his name's John Barenthal, the Punisher, that guy.
Yeah.
He was there, Metro Boomin. Mark Henry, who, look, I loved seeing Mark Henry, Chris, on the show. It was an absolute shame, a shonda, that he was not wearing the salmon jacket.
I got a lot left in the tank.
I mean, right? Am I wrong?
I don't know if I've ever told the story on the show. I was at that show.
Were you? Really?
Jacket. Yeah.
That's crazy. I wish I was there too. Kurt Angle, Trish Stratus, Jesse Ventura, obviously, Tyrese Halliburton, Chuck Zito, Eve Torres, Michelle McCool, Rob Van Dam, Sami Zayn, who sat in the crowd, Elias randomly, Haku randomly.
Haku looks like he could still kick everybody's ass, and he absolutely could.
And then next to Haku and Elias, Kevin Owens, who, as I mentioned earlier, got a big hug from Cena. KO and Elias next to each other was a wild sight. How he wasn't losing his mind asking where Ezekiel was, I have no idea. But it was just so funny, in addition to seeing KO unexpectedly, but I was so happy that he got to show up. But Chris, I was really surprised. I know people are busy and they have their lives, whatever. I was really surprised Randy Orton especially, but Batista as well was not there. And as surprised as I was not to see them, I was pleasantly surprised not to see a single politician or controversial person show up on screen. I'm extremely happy that didn't happen.
There in Randy Orton, I don't know. I'm very surprised. Maybe Batista's shooting a movie or something. I don't know. That could be difficult. But yeah, very surprised not to see Randy Orton there. And we didn't see Undertaker in person, right? It was just Michelle McCool.
Believe he was out there in the procession at the end.
Okay.
But I don't believe we saw him individually. No. Same with Shawn Michaels. He was out there at the end, but
yeah. One other name that wasn't there in person, but was shown in the video at the end was Vince McMahon. Did you catch that?
I did. It was brief. And people kind of cheered a little bit, I think.
They kind of did.
But I think that was almost still the protest to Triple H, though. That's how I took it.
Maybe. I it's hard to say what it was, but
it was very
like,
fast.
Oh,
it was very fast.
Okay. Oh, that was interesting. Yeah.
So, okay. That was everything that happened at Saturday night's main event and our overall takeaways of it. Chris, let's get to our pre-show expectation grades to kind of set the stage, and then we'll give you our final grades for the show. On the pre-show, Silver King came in high. I thought this card was outstanding. I had real high expectations across the board, but especially for John Cena and Gunther. I came in with a 94 in A, which is not a normal pre-show expectation grade that I give. Vintage, you came in with a 92 in A-, which I thought was completely legitimate, and that we were both kind of right on there. All of our listeners are getting overheads, had the opportunity to vote on social media, and your vote totals were 67% in the A range, 22% B+ to B, 8% B- to C+, and 3% C or lower, which honestly, I can't even fathom how that would be the expectation coming into the show.
Yeah, that surprises me.
That averages out to a 93.04 out of 100. And of course, Chris, as normally happens, split the difference right between you and I, 94, 93 from the getting overheads, 92 from you. So we all were pretty much in the same range in terms of our expectations for WWE Saturday Night's main event and John Cena's last match. Vintage, I now throw it over to you. As always, you have the opportunity to grade the show first. What was your final grade for John Cena's last match and WWE Saturday Night's main event?
I think I'm going to go right where my expectation was, 92 A-. I think we got good matches, 4 really good matches, sorry. An annoying finish in the opener, but one we sort of expected. And although I picked Cena to win, the fact, I think if Cena had won and they kind of had a bigger deal with the finish, probably would have bumped me up a point or two to an A. But ultimately, I'm going to be right where I was, A-.
So before I go ahead and give my grade, I'll just go ahead and share what all of our listeners are getting overheads voted on social media. And I got a lot of responses in addition to the actual votes that said, Silver King, you should throw out the lower grades because clearly they're just protesting the finish of the final match and so on and so forth. Like, yes, to a degree, I understand why you would say that as listeners and followers. But the truth is that people feel how they feel. And if for them that lessened the entertainment value of the show, it's a legitimate opinion. Now, look, I do find it difficult to believe that you could watch that 2.5-ish hour show and say it was a C+ or lower. I mean, I don't know what you're watching if that's truly what you believe coming out, because even if you were foaming at the mouth, hating the finish of the John Cena match, and similarly hating the finish of Cody and Obafemi, you still had the rest of those matches, which were great, and then the other 2 matches, which were great. So I just think that's kind of ridiculous. Still, the vote totals from all of our listeners are getting overheads on social media. There were a ton of votes that came in for this, by the way. 33% A+ to A, 37% A- to B+, 16% B to B-, and 14% C+ or lower. So a pretty good spread across the board here. That averages out to a 89.98, which obviously rounds up to a 90 and an A minus. So the lowest A minus, and certainly affected by those 14% who voted C plus or lower. I could redo the math and tell you what the grade would be if those were all in the B to B minus range. And sure, let me go ahead and do that. That would be a 91.45. So that would technically round up to 92. So did it affect, the show that 14% C plus or lower? Sure, but it's still an A minus, and ultimately that doesn't matter much. I'm kind of torn a little bit in terms of how I'm going to grade this. And honestly, I feel like I need some time to think it through and rewatch it as well, which we always do, by the way. We'll give you a second look at John Cena's last match and WWE Saturday Night's Main Event. Anything that we didn't cover here that we feel like we missed because we did this instant analysis style as soon as the show went off the air. I'm definitely in the A minus range. It was not an A show because of the finish to Cody and Oba, because how short the first three matches were, and because it was not my desired finish for the main event, even if I was totally okay with it at the end of the day. But it just felt like there were individual moments on the show that weren't as complete as they otherwise could have been. And I similarly do not believe this was anything lower than a B plus. If you're in the B plus to A range, technically, but really B plus to A minus, then I think we're talking the same language about this show. But I don't think it was a B or anything lower than that. There was too much happening. The responses were too great. The moments were too important. It doesn't fly for me. So I'm going to go ahead and say, man, this is tough. I think I have to agree with you, Chris. 92 out of 100, an A minus. Like, it wasn't a 90 for me, and it certainly wasn't a 94, what my prediction was. So I'll just split the difference and come up right in the middle there. It was a really solid show, probably from a excitement and entertainment standpoint, one of the best that WWE had put on this year. But my expectation going in was that it might be WWE's best show of the year. And it most certainly was not that. So I really can't go much higher than a 92. But nevertheless, I found it to be successful, although concerning considering the response to the main event and how that may carry over for WWE as soon as Monday Night on Raw and possibly into 2026. And we're not going to know that until we see it happen with our own eyes.
Yeah, I am curious if any of that carries over, but for now, I'm just going to remember this as Cena's farewell.
Mm-hmm.
Good final match. I respect them for doing the pro wrestling thing on the way out. Even if I wouldn't have done it, even if I would have liked something different, it took guts to do it that way.
It did. Yep.
And you got to hand it to them for that. They did the pro wrestling thing.
I know you don't normally do match grades, but just a little extra credit for everyone who's still listening. I gave it a 4.5. I think I said it would have been an A plus if Cena had, followed up on that arm raise and then won with the STFU. What would you grade that match? Stars and, letters?
I give it like a 4.
Oh, really? Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like it was as good as it was gonna be, frankly. There weren't enough like false finishes where I thought someone was about to win, in part because Cena didn't do a good job of his kickouts. He was kicking out like very early.
His legs were up at 2 and his shoulders came up at like 2.7.
Even before 2 on one of them. So it was like, okay, well, it didn't fully suck me in because of that.
Mm-hmm.
It was slow, but it kind of had to be slow. And it wasn't AJ Styles where they're just going to do all these throwback moves and get the crowd into it. I think there was kind of a ceiling on how they did this.
Mm-hmm.
Thought it was good. I mean, 4 is not bad.
No, it's not bad. That's not bad.
I try to be a little bit stricter.
Well, everyone has different tastes too, and this was very much a slow plotting match. For context, what would you have given Cody Cena at SummerSlam and then Cody AJ at Crown Jewel?
I don't.
You don't remember?
The SummerSlam one I can't grade because I didn't. Honestly, neither of them I can really grade fairly because I already knew what happened before I saw the match.
That's true.
Because I was in Italy for the SummerSlam one and football for the AJ one, and so I'd seen the clips before I saw the whole match.
But
so
you thought those matches were better than this one, both of those.
Like, yes, they were more fun.
Okay,
but this match wasn't really designed to be that fun. It honestly felt like it was just like it felt like a Cena match that was meant to honor. This is what like every Cena match was kind of for a long time. He hit all his moves. He broke out of stuff. You did the leg drop off the top rope. He hit the avalanche. It was like every major move Cena he did it in this, and they did a good job of getting to them, but there wasn't anything like out of the ordinary.
No, that's fine. I believe the matches I will remember from this run are SummerSlam with Cody and AJ Styles at Crown Jewel. Like, those are the ones I will rewatch because they were special. This is probably not something I will rewatch that frequently. I'm not saying never, but just not with any regularity, because of the way it ended, and the fact that the retirement match is not necessarily supposed to be your best match. It's supposed to be your last match.
I also, the Elimination Chamber match, I go rewatch that.
That was cool too. Yeah,
that was a good match.
So if anyone, just because you mentioned it earlier, but if anyone did not hear our John Cena career retrospective and our full look back on his entire retirement run, make sure you hit our podcast feed and find it. It's just 2 shows ago. It's called John Cena's Last Match, pretty similar to this one. We break it all down, and you can obviously skip the predictions for Saturday night's main event, but we go I want to say an hour before that, talking about Cena's entire career and the last 12 months and pretty much how everything's transpired. So if you missed it, make sure you listen to that, and make sure if you're a first-time listener that you subscribe to the Getting Over Wrestling podcast wherever you can get audio shows. And of course, this type of show, what we deliver here from Getting Over, it is performance-enhancing audio, and we try to bring it straight into your ear holes. On the way out, I should remind you, because I forgot to during the show,
I happen to love the number 5.
and I hope you do too, because for $5 a month or $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover, sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major program, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. Support the continuation of the show. We only have one sponsor during the program. Everything else we do completely for free. buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show. You guys sent a ton of those during Saturday night's main event. We will cover them this Tuesday on our next WWE episode when we take a second look back at Saturday night's main event and John Cena's last match. When you subscribe to us on YouTube, you can get full-length audio episodes and full-length video interviews. Lastly, please remember,
It's all about the 5.
so head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Thanks to all of you for lending us your ear holes and enjoying John Cena's last match in WWE Saturday night's main event with us immediately after the show. For Vintage Chris Vanini, this is the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, signing off and leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.